Do you believe that customer success, we do not need any specific background to be part of customer success? So if so, what do we need?
I believe customer success can and should have the most diverse background in any organization. The reason I say that is customer success is a role and a function that you can bring your own unique abilities and skill set to. I've hired people from such a breadth of backgrounds. I've hired someone out of digital marketing, and she was fantastic because she knew how to operate very quickly in ambiguity, keep moving. The customers that she served that sometimes didn't know how to take a next step, she was phenomenal at helping them take a next step. I've pulled people out of a sales background. I had someone who actually did food sales, i.e., he showed up with trucks of food to restaurants and tried to sell them on it. He was relentless. When his
Yeah.
customers would get stuck, they couldn't figure out a piece of data on the platform, they couldn't figure out something, he would go to the nth degree to figure it out with them. I've had folks come out of consulting. That's often a career path as well, where the ability to break something down into its pieces. What is this customer trying to accomplish? Who are they trying to serve? That can bring it in. One of the best folks I had was an amazing food service person. She was a waitress for a long time, and she was fantastic because she was able to be very, very present with her customer in that moment, but also be able to prioritize her time, her actions, where she was working based on an entire portfolio of customers she was working on, which, quite frankly, food service and the public trains you to do. You
Yeah.
have to be able to watch 12 tables at the same time while making one table feel like they're your sole priority. So I truly believe that customer success professionals can be wildly successful from a ton of backgrounds. I do think there are some core elements that can help someone be successful. The ability to figure out how to prioritize what matters most versus what is loudest. In CS, there's always going to be the loudest, but you also have to keep an eye on what matters. And
Yeah.
so that ability to prioritize, whether it is waitressing, whether it is consulting, whether it is marketing, you have music as well. You have to figure out how to make an entire orchestra or symphony or band work together, quite
Yeah.
frankly. The other thing too is having a confident vision. So what I always called it looking around the bend. So one of the things with CSM sometimes is this feeling of how can I tell this customer what to do when I don't know everything about the platform yet? And that is such a reasonable fear. And so many people have it. But there's one really neat truth. The moment you meet them, you know more about the platform than they do.
Yes, true.
And there is a strength in that. There's a confidence in that. And so if you have a knowledge of what is around the corner for them, and you can help paint that around the corner, and you can be there with them as they get there and help them take that next step, that is uniquely valuable. And
Mm.
that is driving their success. Even if you may not know what is four corners around, that first one you do. And that can be incredibly confidence building with your customer.
Confidence.
Yeah.
You hit on so many important parts of how we can all actually be impactful in customer success. And I think that there are things that we will learn and that we learned, and there will be other ones that we will learn in the future as we do. It's just how it is in anything in life and in customer success. So it's amazing to hear your journey. It's amazing to hear how the way that you see customer success based on your experience. I would love in the future to record one with you where we talk more about this part of what skills develop, because everything involves, I'm pretty sure you have seen customer success involving as well, but something that is involved and it's now here, it's AI. And
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know how your team are using AI. Like if you can tell us what are their AI tools, like,
Mhm.
or if you can tell us how are they actually implementing that, because that way we can borrow those ideas from your team and maybe implement them internally, because there are two aspects that what I perceive here. One is the AI usage to impact the customer, but also the AI usage for us and make our lives easier besides ChatGPT, right? But how is your team right now leveraging that?
Absolutely. So for me, when I think about the team, AI is like any other change. It requires change management. It is
Hmm.
new. We think about change and change management as maybe adopting another tool. In that matter, AI does require change management. So you have to think about the two elements of a change. One is push. Push would be leadership or managers or the organization saying, we value AI. AI is not a cheat. AI is not a shortcut. AI is an active tool that we would like you to use, and we will value you saving time and energy using it. So there's first, the organization, I think, has to create a place of both safety and expectation. This is how we're going to operate. This is what we expect to look like. And so I think once there's safety and expectation, then it is a matter of how do you then create the pull element? How do you create the appeal for the CSMs to want to use AI? How do you create something that feels fun, that feels like it will help them engage in their own careers? And how do you help them feel like being able to be successful as a CSM will be easier, clearer, more effective using AI? So I did say fun, and I'm a huge believer in fun. So one of the things we did in my team is I did a very early AI training. I used ChatGPT, just talking about all of the things you can use AI for, because everybody comes in with a different understanding. Especially on CS teams, you may have a wide variety of technical expertise. Some folks may be deeply technical. You may have hired out of engineering. You may have folks out of other, database management, et cetera, who are very, very comfortable exploring new tools. Other people may have come from more relationship-backed teams. And so the idea of just exploring a new tool might feel overwhelming. And so we talked about all of the fun things you can do in your personal life with AI, whether it's planning a trip, whether it's figuring out the absolute best place to take your mother for Mother's Day, for dinner. There's a lot of fun you can make. And we did things with the memes. We did, how to make a Muppet of yourself with AI. And what that actually does is starts to create a confidence again in the core element of starting to use any AI tool, which is writing a prompt. I do think there is a skill set to writing a prompt, which is about what is it that I am trying to accomplish? What is it that I need to provide to get that? And what format am I looking for that will be most helpful to me? And so we've started practicing that. So how can we use that? How can we use that in prepping for a call? So for a CSM who is perhaps taking on a new account from another CSM, we now have AI tools in our AI ability in our own tool where we can and this is Vitally, where we can summarize the last 3 months, 6 months of activity in that account. So the CSM can run that summary and say, I need to know, what are the risks? What are the opportunities? Where should I be engaging?
And
Who
that's
should I?
within, sorry, but that's
That is
within
within
Vitally.
Vitally.
So we can
Correct.
we can say that Vitally, it can be a part of the AI toolbox.
Very much so. And Vitally, I would say where right now we are using an external tool versus an internal. Vitally, very strong in terms of how we're starting to think about AI summaries, AI questions, but also AI-driven tasks. So how, if we have, say, a call transcript, instead of number one, the CSM taking time to take notes on it, we have that transcript, we have those notes, but we also are generating suggested tasks based on the commitments made on that call. So
Mhm.
instead of the CSM then having to write their task, follow up with Bob, send an email to John, check their usage in a week, those can auto-populate. And so that is very valuable. So we're taking it just from flat information into dynamic action. And that, I think, also is still the place where, depending on what kind of AI you're working with, if you're working with something that is very CS specific like Vitally, it can make that jump for you from just flat information to what happens next, versus just collating information into more effective views. However, externally, we still will use things like ChatGPT for, I am working with a customer for the first time, they're onboarding. Tell me the top 3 things that are issues in their industry right now. I want to make sure I understand what the financial pressures are. Are there any political pressures? Have there been many stakeholder changes in this organization in the last 6 months to a year? So we can come in prepared and ready and honoring what is already known and available about that organization so that we can dig in deeper with them faster instead of having to spend more time with them re-explaining their own organization.
Mm-hmm.
What I find is when you come with that preparation, when you've taken the time, customers feel like they see that they matter to you.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way to show them that you have done the work, and that we see just in terms of customer engagement is a huge win.
So you will say that one of the core skills in 2025 for a CSM is also prompt.
I think it is, whether you want to call it prompt or asking the right question, because I do think we're also going to get past prompt very quickly. I think there are going to be enough suggested prompts or just ways you can write out, I want an XYZ. And we can start to train agents. We can start to train responses so that the prompts you make can even be simpler. But being very clear on what it is you're trying to understand, I think is incredibly important. So for example, our sales team has this, we have this as well. We have created GPTs, we have created small agents for ourselves to do repetitive actions, whether it's I want a summary of a conversation in this specific format, or asking these specific questions, or even analyzing across these specific criteria. So you don't have to rewrite that, but you do have to be quite clear in, as you get better at creating those repeatable agents as well, what it is that you want it to look like. Where do you want variability? Where do you want it to be exactly the same?
That was today's CSM quick lesson. For the full conversation and more practical tips, just go and check out today's episode description where you will have the link to the full conversation. Remember to hit follow, also follow us in the social media, and you can also go and check out our new website. Remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.